Welcome to the Nova Scotia Online Prospectors Education Program. This module is about understanding maps and their use in prospecting. The purpose of this module is to introduce you to the various types of maps available, explain how to read and understand them, and discuss how they can help you with your prospecting work. This module starts with a brief introduction and then discusses topographic maps and their use. Next, we will explore different kinds of geological and surficial geology maps. We will take a brief look at maps portraying geochemical and geophysical information, and finally, we will review the module. There are many different kinds of maps. Maps can show topography, bedrock or surficial geology, geochemistry, and many other themes. Topographic or topo maps help you understand the general nature of the land where you are working and help you construct base maps. Geology and surficial geology maps can help you better understand rock units and glacial deposits overlying bedrock. They can also help provide clues regarding where to look for potential mineralization in a specific geographic area. Geochemical and geophysical maps contain information or data regarding the chemical and physical properties of the geological media sampled or surveyed, and can cover large regional areas or be focused on a local target. All of these different types of maps can help you research areas where you might want to prospect and explore for minerals. To be able to understand the various types of maps you might come across, let's first look at common map elements that help you read a map. The title block is self-explanatory. It contains information about the map's theme, as well as some information about the author, publisher, and date of publication. The main map area has geographic and thematic information representing features on the ground. The legend lists and explains symbols, patterns, and colors used to portray features on the map. Location or index maps show the regional location of the map area or the relationship of the map to other maps in a series. The north arrow shows the orientation of the map. Published maps usually state the projection, datum, and the source of the base map in a notes section. The scale tells you the ratio of distances on a map to distances on the ground. It is shown as a ratio, a scale bar, or both. More information regarding base maps and map scale can be found in the Creating Prospector Maps module and in the resources links associated with that module. Two agencies that host many of the maps you might want to access are the Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources and the Geological Survey of Canada. The Department of Natural Resources Library is a primary contact point for accessing maps, and staff can often help you find the map you need. Topographic maps are sometimes available from outdoor specialty stores and from the Nova Scotia Government Online Map Store at a cost, but are easily downloaded for free from a government website. More information on accessing maps is available in the Accessing Information module. Now let's look at some maps that are useful to prospectors and discuss how they might help you in your work. Topographic maps show large-scale detail of elevations as contour lines. This image is a small portion of a 1 to 10,000 topographic map downloaded from the GeoNova website. These maps show both man-made structures and natural landform features. They are often used for base maps for the plotting and production of geological maps. The contour lines are browned, and closer spaced contours mean steeper topography. In this image, we can see a valley between two hills and a few labeled contour lines. A full 1 to 10,000 scale topo sheet downloaded from GeoNova is shown here. The area down the right side of the map contains information about the map area. The top portion states the title of the map sheet, the location, scale, and the map sheet number. The publisher is the Nova Scotia Government, and the elevation interval between contours is 5 meters. The bottom portion contains an index map of this map series that covers the province. It shows the location of the map in relation to the province and also shows us where the topographic map is located within the 1 to 50,000 National Topographic System map sheet covering this area. We can also see the north arrow and information about the base map projection and datum. Legends for these topographic maps are located at the bottom of the map sheet. The image shows an enlarged portion of the legend that explains the symbols used for relief and hydrography. Geology maps are used to show the distribution and relationship of different bedrock units in a map area. Geology maps can be area-based, such as a 1 to 50,000 map sheet, or theme-based, focusing on a particular geologic unit. Geology maps come in all shapes and sizes, although many maps are now created and published in digital format. Because geological maps are of great importance, we will look at these in detail. Different scaled maps are used for different purposes. The Provincial Geology Map was constructed through the compilation of dozens of more detailed geology maps, mainly produced by government and universities. It was produced at a 1 to 500,000 scale and is very useful for looking at geological relationships at a province-wide level. The Provincial Geology Map contains a lot of information, and we will use this map to learn more about an important aspect of reading a geology map, understanding the legend. Here is the legend for the Provincial Geology Map. Nova Scotia's geology is quite diverse for such a small area. The legend that accompanies the map is very detailed in its description of the various geological units. The legend is so detailed it requires its own separate page, shown here. It's impossible to see the detail here, so we'll look at it in pieces, starting with the title block for the legend. Down the left-hand side of the legend is the geological time chart, which shows the relationship of the rock units in the legend to geological time and to each other. Here is an expanded view of a portion of the time chart. When describing rock units, it is common practice to state the age in millions of years or state the period and epoch. The abbreviation MA means millions of years, and the clip shows geologic time from the early Jurassic period to the early Cretaceous period. The rock unit description section occupies the majority of the legend and is broken into 3 regions: southern mainland Nova Scotia, northern mainland Nova Scotia, and Cape Breton Island. This image shows an expanded view of a portion of the legend that describes several geological units. We'll use the tan-colored Blomidon Formation, highlighted by the red boxes, to explain this part of the legend. You can see the age section of the geological time chart down the left-hand side of this clip that corresponds to the units of this time in southern Nova Scotia. The oldest units in the Blomidon Formation are about 223 million years old, and the younger units are about 202 million years old. Rock units are also coded with symbols and colors or patterns, or both, to relate rock descriptions in the legend to colors and patterns on the map. The symbol tells us the age or age range by epoch and period, the group or complex, and the formation or rock type. So here, the LT and EJ stand for late Triassic to the early Jurassic, the F represents the Fundy group, and the B stands for the Blomidon Formation. All geological maps have a legend to describe units in the geology map. Now let's look at some other types of geological maps. There is a wide variety of published and open file maps covering most of the province that can be downloaded from the Natural Resources website. This image shows a thematic 1 to 50,000 scale bedrock geology map of the basaltic rocks of the North Mountain Formation in the Cape Split region. All the pertinent information, such as the legend and map information, surrounds the main map area. A portion of the map is expanded to show some of the details in the map, and a small portion of the legend is expanded to show a couple unit symbols used in the map. Here is one more example of a thematic bedrock geology map. It is a scanned image of an older Geological Survey of Canada map of the 15-mile stream Gold District. The section of the legend explaining the unit symbols, colors, and patterns is enlarged and shows the map only has 3 rock units described. This is because these maps focus on the details at gold districts. The enlarged map shows some of these features. For example, the red lines inside the black oval are quartz veins, and the red circles show the location of mines at the time this area was mapped. Now let's look at surficial geology maps and what they tell us. Surficial geology maps show the distribution, relationship, properties, origin, and form of loose sedimentary material near the Earth's surface. The 1 to 500,000 scale Provincial Surficial Geology Map contains descriptions of surficial units and detailed information on reference sources, glacial features, as well as information on the economic and environmental significance of the various deposit types. Why is this type of map important to prospectors? Many areas of the province are covered by glacial till and other post-glaciation materials, and some of these materials can be sampled when exploring for minerals. Here is a clip of the Provincial Surficial Geology Map near Rawdon gold mines and the legend describing the different surficial units. Units are systematically classified by origin and associated landform. The legend is divided into 3 groups: units that existed before the last glaciation, such as bedrock, glacial deposits associated with the last glaciation, and units that formed after the last glacial event from river, stream, tidal, and organic processes. The materials most commonly sampled are glacial till, soil, and humus. Since these materials have different geochemical properties, they are analyzed and evaluated separately. Knowing how to use a surficial geology map can help you understand where and what to sample and help you get more meaningful results from your work. More information on sampling can be found in the sampling module or by contacting Natural Resources or a professional geologist. Here is an example of a 1 to 25,000 scale surficial geology map produced by the Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources in 2011. As you can see, much more detail is visible at this scale. This clip of the legend describes one of the surficial units in this map. You might come across some geochemical or geophysical maps at some point, so this section provides a brief introduction to the information presented in these kinds of maps. Both geochemical and geophysical maps provide information we cannot readily see in geologic materials such as rock, glacial till, soil, and humus. Geochemical maps present information about the chemical properties of geologic materials, and geophysical maps present information about the physical properties of geologic materials. Good quality geochemical and geophysical maps have the same legend, scale, and map information features as other map types we saw earlier. Prospectors generally become more familiar with geochemical surveys and maps because they are more commonly used in mineral exploration and easier to understand. Geochemical maps usually show the locations where samples were collected and the elemental values or analytical data associated with the geochemical survey. This image shows a portion of the simplest type of geochemical map. It shows the sample location and number, along with the raw analytical values of the element, in this case, gold in parts per million. Another common method for presenting the results of a geochemical survey is to divide the analytical data into a series of intervals and create a contour map based on the assigned intervals. The image illustrates this type of map. Zinc data from a glacial till survey was divided into 4 intervals. Sample locations are shown in the map as dots, and the legend shows the contour intervals and associated patterns used in the map. The area between sample locations does not have any real data. Contouring is therefore an interpretation of the actual data. Geochemical data can also be presented as proportional symbols based on a series of intervals. The image shows a proportional symbol map. Symbol size represents the concentration, with the higher values shown as larger symbols. Understanding the information being portrayed in a geophysical map can be very challenging. Highly specialized equipment is used in ground or airborne surveys to collect information that may be an indicator of mineralization in the survey area. There are many different geophysical techniques such as magnetics, electrical and electromagnetic, gravity and seismic surveys, among others. Good quality maps have all the appropriate base map information and usually show the survey lines and locations where readings were taken. In this image, we can see labeled grid survey lines and reading stations as ticks along each line. Since geophysical surveys and their interpretation are quite complex, we will just look at one survey type in this section. One of the most common geophysical techniques is a magnetic survey. Magnetic maps show the localized variation in the Earth's magnetic field associated with higher concentrations of magnetic minerals that may be associated with economically significant mineralization. The map on the left shows a portion of a black line contour map from an older magnetic survey. You can see the survey lines, reading locations and values in addition to the contours. The map on the right is also a portion of a more modern magnetic map with color contours and shading, which gives a three-dimensional look to the map. You can see the survey lines, reading locations, and a few labeled contours. It is a good idea to contact the Department of Natural Resources or a trained geophysicist to better understand geophysical maps. In this module, you learned about the map elements that help you read and understand various types of geoscience maps. You learned about map legends and how they explain geoscience information in a map. You were introduced to a number of different types of geology and surficial geology maps. And finally, you were introduced to geochemical and geophysical maps, which can provide chemical and physical information. More information on maps can be found in the Resources Links section.